Hey guys, I'm Sam, and I'm not like other girls because I'm goth, and everyone at Hogwarts is in love with me. Several months ago, I made a video talking about the iconic masterpiece that is My Immortal by Tara Gilsepe. And in that video, I really only scratched the surface talking about all of the chaotic details that take place in this poorly spelled fanfiction. So we're finally getting back to it. If you haven't seen the first video, go watch it and come back, because we're picking up right where we left off, talking about the story. When we last saw Ebony, Darkness, Dementia, Ravenway, she was really going through it because she just found out that Voldemort has given her a horrible ultimatum where she has to either kill Vampire Potter with a gun or Voldemort will kill her boyfriend Draco. However, when Draco finds out about this ultimatum from Voldemort, he flies off the handle and makes Ebony's decision for her, apparently by canceling his own subscription to Life. Ebony is seriously considering Romeo and Juliet style reuniting with Draco when Vampire busts into the scene. Vampire always coming in clutch, always knowing when to show up at the exact right time. And when he gets there, he's screaming. He's screaming because his scar has started hurting once again. He says, "OMFG, no, my scar hurts." And then his eyes rolled up. You could only see his red whites. And Tara, I just love to ask you, what is a red white? And maybe that's preppy of me that I don't know what a red white is, because maybe that's something that only goths truly understand. But if you could point out what the red whites of your eyes are, I would love to know. Continuing on, Ebony is also confused because she earlier saw that Vampire didn't have a scar anymore. So she's like, hold on, wait, I thought you didn't have a scar. And don't worry, this gets explained. Vampire says, "I do, but Diablo changed it into a pentagram for me, and I always covered up with foundation. Anyway, my scar hurt, and it turned back into a lightning bolt. Save me." Then I had a vision of what was happening to Draco. Voldemort has him in bondage. That was a hard sentence to read. Voldemort has him bondage is a hard sentence to read. But a few things to address here. First of all, good thing Ebony didn't get into her Romeo and Juliet nonsense, because it turns out Draco is still alive. Woo! And also, okay, so Diablo, if you remember, is Ron Weasley's new name. You know, Diablo Weasley. And why would Vampire have Diablo change his scar into a pentagram if he's just gonna cover it up with foundation? You know? Like, if you don't want it to be there, then make it disappear. Why go to the trouble of turning it into a pentagram and then covering it up? Vampire, honestly, covering up a pentagram scar is kind of preppy of you, you know? So, keep that in mind. You can change your name to Vampire all you want, but you're still not beating the prep allegations. So after Vampire reveals that not only is Draco still alive, but Vampire has seen a vision of him and knows where he is, Ebony does not react to this news at all. She was so upset about the thought of Draco's death that she was about ready to join him, but now that she's learned he's still alive, she could not care less. It's like this information was never even shared with her, the way that she completely moves on. Like right after he says that, then we're just not acknowledging him anymore, and Hagrid shows up. Hagrid just shows up, changes the conversation, and does a spell that's like a My Chemical Romance song. So Ebony then runs off to change into a new gothic outfit, which includes a pair of high-heeled boots with Billie Joe Armstrong on them. And then, you know, she gets a compliment from her friend Bloody Mary Smith, who says that she looks kawaii. Girl, where do we even begin? And then she goes to Care of Magical Creatures, or, I'm so sorry, as it's described in this fan fiction, she goes to Hair of magical creatures. And she sees Vampire there just sucking some blood from a Hufflepuff. He's just sucking some blood from a Hufflepuff. And we don't go into any more detail about that. We don't talk about, like, who is this Hufflepuff? Did the Hufflepuff die? Did he kill the Hufflepuff? Like, what happens? Doesn't matter. And then Ebony's like, hey. And Vampire's like, hey. I guess he just, wipes the Hufflepuff blood off of his mouth, pushes the Hufflepuff aside, and starts up a sad conversation with Ebony. We both looked at each other for some time. Harry had beautiful red gothic eyes, so much like Draco's. Then, ... we jumped on each other and started screwing each other. Right in the middle of Hair of Magical Creatures. They just start having sex. And Professor McGonagall teaches Hair of Magical Creatures in this universe because, since Hagrid's a student in this alternate reality, somebody has to cover the Hair of Magical Creatures shift. And she's like, stop it now, you horny simpletons. But then she just continues to watch them along with everyone in class. So the whole class is just watch. I guess the magical creatures that we're learning about in this class are Vampire and Ebony and them having sex in front of everyone. So then we're back on our bullshit because Harry's scar starts hurting again. Vampire's scar starts hurting again. He's like, no, my scar hurts. And then, it's the same as before. His eyes roll up. You can only see his red whites. And then we just go through the scene that had just happened earlier that wasn't acknowledged at all. Now we're actually going to follow up on that and see what happened to Draco now that Voldemort has him bondage. So now we're actually following up on the Draco thing. I was wondering if we were going to come back to that. Now we are. So Ebony and Vampire run to go tell Dumbledore. They're like, oh my God, Dumbledore, Voldemort has Draco. And Dumbledore's like, ew, why do you think I would care about that? That means nothing to me. So then Vampire's over here, crying tears of blood. They're both like, what do we do? Voldemort's not going to help us. And then Vampire's like, oh wait, I have an idea. And he just immediately teleports them to Voldemort's lair. In a second. Oh right, I forgot I could immediately teleport us to Voldemort's lair. So they pop into Voldemort's lair and immediately see Snaketail, aka Wormtail, torturing Draco. And as soon as Snaketail sees Ebony, he's like, NOB, I'm in love with you. Will you have sex with me? And she's like, ew, no. And so she kills him. She stabs him in the heart like you do. Obviously, there's really no other course of action at that point. I get it. We've all been in this situation. So now that Snaketail's dead, they've got to bounce. So they hop on their broomsticks and leave, which, not to be nitpicky, but they teleported there with magic and they didn't have broomsticks. So where did you get the broomsticks, guys?
Amazing!
Where did you get the broomsticks? But anyway, they go back to Hogwarts and Ebony's crying and Draco, who's just been tortured for who knows how long before people came and found him, he sees Ebony crying and he's like, what's wrong, honey? And starts taking off his clothes so they can have sex. Which I'm like, Draco, read the room, she's crying right now. Also, you just got tortured. Maybe if we just went to therapy, if one of us just went to therapy instead of immediately having sex. But don't worry, Ebony's not in the mood because she's dealing with a real crisis here, problems that people like you and I could never understand. Because what she's dealing with is the conflict of being the most beautiful and sought after girl in the entire world. So next we get this iconic quote, and I just have to read the whole thing because it's too good. Ebony says, but everyone is in love with me. Snape and Lupin took a video of me naked. Hagrid says he's in love with me. Vampire likes me now. Even Snaketail is in love with me. I just want to be with you, okay, Draco? Why couldn't Satan have made me less beautiful? I shouted angrily. And then, author's note, Don't worry, NOB isn't a snob or anything, but a lot of people have told her she's pretty. I'm good at too many things. Why can't I just be normal? It's a fucking curse. I shouted and then ran away. Incredible. Incredible. Because who among us hasn't also thought, damn, why couldn't Satan have made me less beautiful, you know? It's just the classic struggle of when every boy at Hogwarts wants you, you know? So Ebony's obviously very upset about being cursed by Satan to be too beautiful. And Draco's like, wait, come back. And immediately she turns on him, and now she's mad at him. And she's like, why don't you just go have sex with vampire? Which, like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. Geez, girl, calm down. And then she goes into her room, slams the door, and locks it with a blood red key that has Marilyn Manson on it. So again, I just want to visualize what that would look like if you had a key with Marilyn Manson's face on it. Wild choice. Wild choice. Doesn't age well. So this is where we really start to lose the plot here, because there's a My Chemical Romance concert in Hogsmeade, Ebony and Draco go, and then at the end of the concert, Gerard Way pulls off his mask to reveal that he is Voldemort and that the Death Eaters are there. And then we just go about business as usual. Like, it's not acknowledged that that happened at all in any way whatsoever. They're still hanging out in the concert. You know, classic Ebony and Draco. They fight and then they make up once again. And then they run into Bloody Mary Smith, who continues to say just the most wild interpretations of Japanese that you could possibly imagine. Ebony meets Tom Ridd, who I guess is Tom Riddle, but not. And he's like working as a salesperson at the Hogsmead Hot Topic location. And he's trying to hit on Ebony because, you know, every man wants to be with her. No editing or really just rereading of the work was done at all in the writing of this fanfiction, because we do the same scene twice once again. That after Tom Riddle gives Ebony and Bloody Mary free clothes at the Hogsmeade Hot Topic, that then they go to the My Chemical Romance concert again. But, you know, this time there's a little more detail to the story. That, you know, Ebony goes with Draco, but Bloody Mary takes a date, and her date is Dracola, the goth version of Neville Longbottom. And I gotta read this part because it's great. It's great. Dracola used to be called Navel, but it turned out that he was kidnapped at birth and his real family were vampires. They died in a car crash. Navel converted to Satanism and he was goth. He was in Slytherin now. He was wearing a black warped t-shirt, black jeans, and shoes and black hair with red streaks in it. We call him Dracula. We call him Dracula now. Well, anyway, we all went to Draco's black Mercy Benz that his dad Lucian gave him. We did pot, coke, and crack. So, whoa. I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing all of those together, but go off. Draco and I made out. We made fun of Doe's stupid fucking preps. We soon got there, I gasped. And then we go back to the same scene we saw earlier where Gerard Way takes off his Scooby-Doo villain mask to reveal that he is Voldemort. We do that exact same scene all over again, but this time everyone's actually acknowledging that it happened. And then we get to one of actually probably my all-time favorite moment from this fanfiction. So Voldemort's over here like, Ebony, surprise bitch, I told you to kill vampire. And he pulls out a knife, which again, I'm like, we are in the wizarding world. We have magic. Why is Voldemort, who's like the most powerful wizard ever, using guns and knives? Like, what are we doing here? And then the icon, the legend, Dumbledore flies in to save the day. And I gotta read this. Suddenly, a gothic old man flew in on his broomstick. He had long black hair and a long black beard. He was wearing a black robe that said Avril Lavigne on the back. He shotted a spell at Voldemort, ran away. It was Dumbledore. The thought of Dumbledore wearing a black robe that says Avril Lavigne on the back is actually the funniest thing ever. So Dumbledore has given himself a makeover. He's goth now. He loves Avril Lavigne, and he's given the whole Hogwarts entire cafeteria a goth makeover. But the goth kids are like, this poser. They're like, he is such a poser. He's not even really goth. We get to the third My Chemical Romance concert scene in the story. Like, I swear it feels like there have been a million My Chemical Romance concert scenes, but maybe just because we saw that same one twice. So this time, Vampire takes Ebony to the My Chemical Romance concert, and it's kind of like she just sort of forgot about Draco's existence for a second, which is strange because throughout the whole rest of the story, she's been like, Draco's the only one for me. And then Vampire and Ebony kiss, and they hear crying in the corner and see that Draco is curled up in a ball in the corner, sobbing, which I get why he would be crying. I also would be crying if my partner, who constantly accused me of cheating on them with Vampire, was then cheating on me with Vampire. I'd be a little upset about that too. Ebony's like, oh, Draco, are you okay? And Draco's like, no, dude, no. Actually, no, because I just saw you kissing Vampire. And then he runs off, and Ebony's like, oh no, what do we do? And Vampire's like, don't worry, I'll make him feel better. And then immediately, Ebony's back on her bullshit, and she's like, oh, you mean you're gonna have sex with him? Is that how you're gonna make him feel better? I'm telling you, it's like, if they all like each other, then like, I know this was written by a 12-year-old in like 2006, but like, just be a throuple. Like, what? We don't need to be doing all this drama. But Draco's been like running around crying, sobbing hysterically, and then once they do actually get to him and Ebony's like, hey, are you okay? He's like, I guess. And then they just move on. Because nothing matters in this story. So this chapter wraps up with Doris Rumbridge and Cornelia Fudge gathering all of the students into the Great Hall for a big announcement. They're basically letting everyone know that the Bark Lord is planning to kill the students. And then they start coming for Dumbledore. They're like, you are not fit to be principal any longer, yelled Rumbridge. You are too old and your Alzheimer's is dangerous. You must retry or Voldemort will kill your students. Very well, Dumbledore said angrily, but we cannot do this. We can't close the school. There is only one person who is capable of killing Voldemort, and she is in the school. And her name is ... Ebony Darkness, Dementia, Raven Way. Bum, bum, bum. And on that note, that's where I'm gonna end the video for today. When I made my first video, I said that if it got enough attention, I would make a part 2. But let's be honest, I'll probably make a parts 3 and 4 of this My Immortal series, whether you guys like it or not. So thank you guys for watching this My Immortal breakdown. And if you haven't seen my first My Immortal video, go check that out. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, go do that. Give it a like, give it a comment, talking about your thoughts on Ebony, Darkness, Dementia, Raven Way, and the world of My Immortal. And thank you guys so much for watching. Have a very gothic rest of your day. Bye!